So this is the Fine Art Library on George IV Bridge, where we are very lucky to be allowed to draw books and books, stacks, but also some lovely views out of the windows. We're going to be drawing in the library this Monday, and then the following week we'll have a model in the studio who'll be a librarian or a visitor to the library, and we're going to combine the figures from those drawings with the images that you create in the library of this setting. Phew, so I'm not in the library anymore and I don't have to whisper. We're going to be in the library on Monday morning, and you will be confronted by stacks of books, some nice views out the window, and I suppose potentially lots of lines, lots of straight lines. So I'm going to suggest a way that you might work using a slightly thicker stick of charcoal. I've snapped it in half, so I've got a 2 centimetre length, and I'm going to draw lines by laying the charcoal on the page and just sliding it up and down the page like that. I've set things up now so that I hope my hands aren't in the way quite as much as they have been in some of the previous demonstration videos. But I'm just working from a photograph that I took in the library, and it's the kind of view that we're going to be potentially seeing quite a lot of. A view that combines books in the bookshelf with some of the background setting. So you can see how I'm fairly rapidly laying down some lines for firstly a bookshelf, and then what I see in my reference photograph is a window and a not particularly attractive chair, has to be said. They do have some really nice old wooden chairs in the library, and I think if this was going to be my exhibition piece, I would have gone for one of those. But I think this is potentially a satisfying composition, because I have this, well, at the moment, this empty chair in the window. We've got interesting shapes. So I hope that this is reasonably useful as an introductory demonstration, that I am plotting out some lines which are the architecture, the books, the furniture. I'm doing it on the grey paper, and I think quite quickly I've got a kind of structure, and because these lines are laid down with the side of the charcoal, they're straight enough. They're straight and precise enough for what is needed of them. And they have a sort of looseness, which I think is probably easier on the eye than very carefully drawn straight lines that might be produced using a ruler. So there we go, some books. So I want to develop a composition, initially without a figure, but perhaps with a thought to having some figures. But also there might be something in this whole theme of the library, of the shelves of art books, that I want to develop as well. I will have included some images with the email by the artist Hugh Buchanan, who did some very striking watercolour paintings of the Playfair Library at Old College, and he called the series of images Enlightenment, and he draws some very, very poetic connections between the way that the light falls on the books in that library and the Enlightenment. And so I'm hoping that by taking you to the Fine Art Library, you may see the potential for creating a certain atmosphere in your drawings, an atmosphere that might make reference to the subject matter. You know, these old books, art books even, which, well, we'll see how busy it is when we're there, but as you probably know, libraries aren't as popular as they used to be, so there might be a certain sort of pathos to this subject. So we're going to have charcoal and chalk to start, and then you might want to introduce colour as well, and we'll be putting together some images which will provide a setting for our model in the following session in the studio. So that's probably as far as I'll go with this one. I'll just try one other because I've got some other ideas that I'd like to suggest to you, and I want to just make sure that all of this is a little bit darker, maybe out of focus, to draw the attention more to the distant window and the lonesome chair. I'm just trying a second composition. Again, I've taken some photographs, so that's my reference. But this time I want to feature a book. A little bit more prominently, because I think it's good to combine some of the things I've mentioned, you know, the architectural spaces. It's a very attractive space with its corniced ceiling and so on. It's a very grand room at the top of the building. But I think it's quite good to combine, to juxtapose the space with maybe some of the particular artifacts, well, books, of course, that occupy that space. So I'm just working back from a table and a single book to one of these low stacks of books. So yes, I hope your heart doesn't sink at the prospect of dealing with lots of books, because I'm trying to show you a very quick way to suggest hundreds and hundreds of volumes. And if you want to make a feature of some of these books, deal with colour or order or disorder, then that's something that can be developed from this fairly quick way of laying down straight lines. And I'm reminded of something that Degas said about straight lines, that the only thing that matters about a straight line is that it looks straight. So it doesn't matter if it isn't actually straight, so long as it looks straight. If it looks straight in the drawing or the painting, then it looks straight. If it is straight and it doesn't look straight, well, you get the idea. So you can let me know what you think of these straight lines, but I'm fairly hopeful that they'll do. I'm hopeful that they look straight. There's a funny thing with my camera and this perspective. Anyway, so I'm going to develop that a little bit more. I did quite a few straight lines. I'm now looking with my eyes half closed to see where there are dark shapes and introducing them. And then I think for this one I might spray it and try a little bit of colour, because of course there is potential for plenty of colour in a subject like this. So working with the colour, I begin just by, again, actually using the side of the pastel and blocking in some larger areas. The library has these, I don't know, kind of minty green walls, some wooden bookcases, and as I block in some of this colour, I may be losing or softening some of my original lines, and then I just have to decide whether I want some of those lines back as I progress. I think there's a nice bit of light coming through these windows. And so on. I can start to define a little bit more specifically what's there, and also begin to steer the attention that I want people to give to particular parts of my drawing. I mean, I want to come down to the book now, really. I might get something on the table. I want to have a bit of a contrast, really, between the depth and the space, and then this particular object in the foreground. So we're promised tea and coffee and a warm welcome in the library. We'll work with the setting and with each other, because you'll be seeing each other around the space, to put together some compositions which we might then include some figures in via our model session the following week. Okay, see you then.